LaVar, does Dallas need to make a deep playoff run this year for the season to be a success?
No, I don't believe they have to make a deep playoff run. And listen, there's always the pressure of being a Dallas Cowboy, and I understand that because they're so watched, they're so followed and well liked, but they don't. I mean, if you look at this roster last year, you'll be blown away by how many Pro Bowlers. If I asked you how many Pro Bowlers that they had last year, how many would you say? Okay. That was the number, because I didn't hear you say any numbers, right? There were no Pro Bowlers for this Dallas Cowboys team. And then now you have Dak coming off of a very, very bad injury, and he's going to have to get back into playing shape, knock the rust off of a long, long time away from the field and competitive football. So when I look at this team, I'm wondering, what is Ezekiel Elliott going to bring to the table? More importantly, what is that offensive front going to do for Ezekiel Elliott and for, obviously, Dak Prescott to have the ability to throw the ball? Now, you go on to the defense side of the ball. Everybody talks about how bad they were on defense, but they addressed their needs through free agency and in the draft. And it looks as though they have a really, really young, gifted, talented group of guys on that defensive side of the ball. So adding Dan Quinn, having guys like George Edwards on that coaching staff, doing quality control and making sure the little things are done on the defensive side of the ball, I think the defense takes a tremendous step forward. So, no, they don't have to go really, really deep into the playoffs, but what they do need to do is show that this is a team that isn't the same team that we've been watching over the course of the last, couple years or so before we can, get to a point of saying that this is a team that has improved. I think they got to show they've improved before we go into how far are they going to go into the playoffs.
For me, they definitely got to go into the playoffs. They got to make the playoffs, and they need to be impressive in the playoffs. And it's not just about the guys on the field. It's about Mike McCarthy, too. Like, he understands how this game is played. He signed a 5-year deal. You better show something, some signs of, I can turn this organization around. Regardless if injury is inflicted upon us, it does not matter the desire of what we expect from you. Like, that's why we hired you as a coach, to be able to move and plug pieces, to be able to get the best out of everyone on this roster. And so when you think about what you just said, the moves that they made this offseason with Dan Quinn, with addressing the defensive side of the ball, with all these attention to details that they had to address, that tells me that they expect to be a better team. So in order for them to be a better team, they better make the playoffs. When you look at that NFC East, teams have improved. They cannot just stand there and not make the playoffs and then everybody be okay with it in Dallas. That's not how it works. We all go into a season every single year with the expectation of winning. Some a little far-fetched, some with the real reality of it being a potential. The Dallas Cowboys believe that they have a roster, if all healthy, and here's if again, if everyone stays healthy, to where they can have a good season and they can contend for a Super Bowl. That is the game plan. That is never going to not be the game plan. If you talk to Mike McCarthy, I'm sure he's putting up a mural with empty seats or whatever, with champion right alongside the championships that they have won, the Super Bowls that they have won, with an empty one saying, this is where our faces are going to go.
That's an expectation and a standard. That's an expectation and a standard. And that's fine to have an expectation and a standard, but you still have to build to that. You can't skip the steps in the process to get to that trophy case and put another Super Bowl trophy in there.
But LaVar, this wasn't a team that was rebuilding. He didn't come to a team that was starting from the bottom and trying to rebuild. He came to a team that had pieces to where he was going to be the reason why they continued to build on what they had already established. Now, that didn't happen because of injuries. And so now when you walk into this season healthy, you've addressed the defense, you've addressed the coaching side of the defense, the expectation is to win.
That's rebuilding.
Period.
That's rebuilding. They had to rebuild a side of the ball. They had to rebuild the offense side of the ball. That's why they brought McCarthy in. It is a rebuild. They're not adding on. They haven't been successful enough to say you're adding on. You can't say this is a team that was ready to win. They haven't shown they're ready to win. They haven't beat good teams. It is a rebuild. It is a rebuild.
Look,
I guess if a deep playoff run is the NFC title game, then no, I don't think they have to get that far. They do have to win the division. For this to be viewed as a successful season, they need to win the division. Look, I get it that the division has improved. I get it that Washington has a very strong defense. There's no doubt about that. But the Dallas Cowboys have by far, the best quarterback in that division. It's not even close, all right? That says something. When you've got that, and then he's got all types of toys to play with. The receivers are great. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard is a very good tandem in the backfield. I think the offensive line with Lyle Collins and Zach Martin and Tyron Smith being back, they should be much improved. And then on the other side of the ball, their first 6 draft picks were defensive players. They knew that was their weakness. That's what they need to improve on. And I know you love your guy, LaVar Parsons.
Of course.
I think he's going to be good. He hits like a truck. He's athletic. I think he's going to be good. The defensive back they drafted out of Kentucky, he's got talent.
Yeah.
We'll see, does he have the discipline
Joseph.
and all that to maximize it. But, yeah, he does have talent. So maybe he can help a quarterback crew that needed some help. And then Greg said it, Dan Quinn coming in, I think is going to make them much better on the defensive end, just to the point where they're middle of the pack, top 15 defensively. And if they are top 15 defensively with that offense, they should win that division. And I do think, look, they would be the worst division winner in the NFC. Green Bay, Tampa Bay, maybe Seattle, whoever comes out of that division, San Francisco probably. They're better than Dallas. But if Dallas takes care of business, like they could actually, they need to win the division and win the wild card. Yeah. If they do that, then I think it's been a successful season that you can build on and say next year we're ready.
Chris, this is my favorite part about being in the studio with LaVar, right? So I agree with him a lot, and it's good to be on his side. He couldn't be more wrong here. I mean, listen, I'm not a Dallas Cowboys hater, but we have the Dallas Cowboys schedule that we're going to put on the screen for you. I believe the team here at Undisputed. Look at this joke of a schedule, LaVar. Look at it. How many playoff teams do you see in their first 9 games from last year? Count them up. Go ahead. We'll start with Tampa Bay.
Right.
You see anybody else? LaVar, there is so much pressure.
The Chargers are
asleep. They have the toughest first-half schedule in the league. They're going to start like 2-6. And I like the Chargers. LaVar, this is set up where McCarthy has so much pressure on his team, okay? Vegas has his team 9.5 over-under wins. They have them winning the division. If McCarthy does not deliver and get to the playoffs and make a deep playoff run, yes, they have to win a game at least in the playoffs. They're expanding the dang season to 17 games. Cowboys have another chance to win another game. LaVar, if McCarthy doesn't get to the playoffs, I don't know if he's coming back next year. They just dumped the defensive coordinator.
Hold on.
You can't keep making all these moves. This is a Dallas team that better make the playoffs. They just gave the quarterback $160 million. He's got 1 playoff win. I'm not even a Dallas believer, but this schedule is a joke.
I didn't say that.
And if McCarthy does not deliver, he's probably out on his keister.
Come on, J-Mac. I did not say they didn't have to make the playoffs. The question said, do they have to make a deep, the key word being deep.
Do they have to make the playoffs?
I think they need to make the playoffs. Of course they need to make the playoffs because they have an elite group of players on their personnel, on their roster. They need to make the playoffs, absolutely. Do they have to make a deep playoff run to justify what type of season they had this year? I do not think so. If they're a wild card team, I'm okay with that. If they make it out of the first round, I'm okay with that. I do not think that they have to make it into the divisional championship round for this to be a successful year.
LaVar, who's good in the NFC? Drew Brees is gone. Other than Tampa Bay, name me a good team. The Rams have holes. They just got a new quarterback. Matt Stafford has 0 career playoff wins. No. Seattle's not even going to make the playoffs. Sorry, Broussard. Look at the NFC. Dallas absolutely has to make a run. LaVar, the NFC is so weak this year.
Even with all of that and saying that the NFC is weak, this Dallas Cowboys team has been one of the weakest teams in a weak division, in a weak conference. So to me, I don't look at it as saying by default, by process of elimination, that now all of a sudden we're going to look at Dallas as an elite team. They have not proven to be an elite team for several years now. So if I'm going to look at Dallas and say, what makes this a successful year from what they have accomplished and what we have seen, it is, yes, contend for the division, to be the NFC East champs. Yes, to make it into the playoffs. Can you get out of that first round of the playoffs? That would make it a tremendous success if they made it out of the first round. And if you go from there, that's a bonus. But that does not make the season a disappointing season in terms of where you're trying to go as a team at this moment, because they are coming from a very, very, very far away mark to get to that first round of the to the first round of the playoffs.
Greg, what kind of revisionist history is this? A faraway mark.
Give me. When's the last time they were in the playoffs?
3 years ago? You could play Jason Garrett? I mean, Greg, come on. This is a Dallas team that was ready.
2019 that was their last year.
The reason they fired Jason Garrett, right, was because he couldn't get them over the hump. So they bring in McCarthy. They have the best coach in the division. They have the best quarterback, according to everybody here, in the division. How are they not expected to win the division?
He went out with an injury, and then now you have to address the defense, and you don't, with all of those rookies that they're going to have to plug in and build the culture of what that defense is going to look like. You don't know exactly how that's going to turn out. You got to go through the process of seeing what that identity is going to be. So when you brought in Mike McCarthy, you brought in Mike McCarthy to fix the offense. You didn't realize how bad your defense was playing, and now you've addressed that. So now you got to see where they're at. And if that's seeing where they're at gets you to the first, second round of the playoffs, that's a win. That's a win. Not going to the Super Bowl. To assume that they got to make it to the Super Bowl or championship round, I think that's a bit much.
Whew.
Well, you were sounding like 8-9 was going to be progress, so I'm glad you changed your tone.
All right. Okay, thank you.
You assumed that.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.